you join us middle of the day. We're just about to get down and do some filming, and at long last one of the rods have screamed off. I don't think it's a particularly big fish, but as we get into the colder weather and later on in the season and the longer dark nights, then anyone's a welcome fish. Got a lot of weed here in front, so I've got to take him reasonably steady. Right, here we are. Myself and Brad, we're doing some media work, and camera was out. We were just about to get into it, as they say in media parlance, and one of the rods roared off, and this chap is just short of the magic figure. He's just over 39 pounds and an absolute belting fish, which is a bit lively. Need to put a bit of water on him. Here we go. Oh, blimey. Told you we're lively. Let's get hold of him and show you him. Oh. Get him round. Round him round, Mark. There we are. A bit more water on him. Come on, son. Bit more water on you. There we are. Let's hold him up for the cameras. Well, he's an angry fish, as you can see. I think he's more disgusted with himself that an old duffer like me's managed to catch him. But there you can see, beautiful fish, caught during filming, always a result. Never in any doubt really once I stuck hooking him with a PB gear, which we're going to talk about shortly. But for now, just enjoy this fella. This is why we go carp fishing, and this is what I always love about it. What I want to talk about now is a rig that we get asked a lot of questions about, and that's the what I've christened long blowback rig. Now, one of the things which is important for you all to understand is when I talk about rigs, it's only ever my opinion. And over the years, I've done various rig pieces with PB Products because I've been with the guys a long time now, 12 years or more, I think. It's only my opinion, but it's based on actual catches. And one of the things which has got a lot of interest the last sort of 18 months has been this long rig. Now, the idea behind it came when I fished on a day ticket water in Yorkshire for a big common. You'll see a picture of the big common come up on the cuttings. It was £50, 13 ounce, but it was a day ticket water that saw a lot of pressure, and I wanted to come up with a rig that was different. Well, say hello, boys and girls, to the long blowback rig. Now there you can see, I'm not the tallest man in the world, but you've got a knuckle link there that I think probably is nearer 3 foot than 2 foot. And some of the questions that I get asked is, why did you use it? How do you cast it out? And what do you think it brings to the fishing? Well, the last question I'll go first. What do I think it brings to the fishing? I think it brings something completely different. And I'm not one change for change's sake, but when I realised I was on a busy day ticket water that was seeing a lot of pressure from people taking boats out fishing at long distances, it was predominantly something like a Ronnie rig or a German rig or whatever they call it this week, sort of short booms, all the rest of it, pop up off the bottom. I wanted something completely different. So let's break it down and talk about the particular rig and the mechanics of it. Well, one of the things that's different is the length of it. Now, the reason why I had such a long length was, as I've mentioned, because people were on short hook lengths. Now, the reason why it is green ornate, which is a very stiff material, is one thing which is patently clear when you use long rigs and traces, is that if you have supple materials using it, there's a very good chance that that could fold on itself at any particular time, either descending down in the water or more obviously in mid-cast, where the lead's going first and this is trailing behind. And so what you need to try and do is to have a material that doesn't turn back on itself. So the stiffest material that we had, hook link material that we had within the PB range, is green hornet. So that's where that came. Now the other thing is that very much like a lot of coated braid conceptions, it works as a multi-type rig in relation to the hook end by stripping back some of the coating. So if we look at the business end of it, you can see quite clearly, and I'm going to put a needle on there above the air and on the bit, so you can see it quite clearly, and just I'll talk about the concept of it and why it caught me that big fish and why I use it specifically for big fish. Now there's the first clue. It's a big fish rig. If you're going on a waterway expecting lots of runs, medium-sized fish, this isn't the one for you. It's a bottom bait concept. So again, that's important for you to understand. It doesn't work well with a pop-up sat up like that, because that just isn't the mechanics, because as the ring would blow back, the hook would stop in the position, it wouldn't move. You don't want that. So it's a bottom bait concept. So that is a boilie straight out of the bag. Now it's a very extended air. You can see there, it's a very, very long air. And this shows that it's also got our very large rig rings. We do two varieties of rig rings. We do the sort of common normal size ones, and you'll see cutaways to the tackles used during this film as well, boys and girls. But we use the large rig ring, and that's because what I'm after is when a big fish takes that, as it blows that up the line, can you see how it actually blows the rig above the hole of the hook? So it actually goes right up the trace, and you can see quite clearly that that's the concept behind the blowback rig. I still go on about it, and you've heard me say many times, I see a lot of people claim blowback rigs, and they have very short rigs with tubing, and it only moves a fraction up the shank, maybe, I don't know, a centimetre. Well, that's not the concept of the blowback rig. The blowback rig was initially to blow it up over the hook. So it's a long air, it's a large ring, and it's a long trace. Now, one thing which is obvious to me when I see that is, because of the length of the hair, is it going to cause me tangles? Well, one thing I do to stop that is I put on the rig, before it's cast, a PVA bag, and that also I nick the bottom of the air stop into the bag, so you can see it's going out curled. Well, what that actually does is when it goes down on the deck, it actually makes sure, if I pull it off, that that air doesn't get tangled, and it stops it. It's like an anti-tangle thing. The other thing about that mesh bag, again, which is very important, is when you cast it, the weight of that actually stops it tangling and going back on itself. One thing you've got to do with this is, I caught this particular fish, this 50-pound Yorkshire Common, at 18.5 wraps. I would say that this has a maximum distance, the length of it, to keep in control and make sure it hits the clip and you can watch it hit the water. And with this rig, what you get, when it hits the water, because the length of the rig is so great, you will see two splashes. So you'll see the lead and you'll see the mesh bag and the hook bait go down. And what I was saying earlier is, the length that I would go is no more than about 22 or 23 wraps. I caught this particular fish at 18.5. So that's the long blowback rig. Give it a try, and I'm telling you this, for big fish, it's something that'll set you apart from the crowd.